time for the Ron and Brian podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
And good evening, everybody. It is Sunday night. It is 8 o'clock, and it is time for episode 245 of the Ron and Brian podcast. Brian, how the hell are you tonight, my friend?
I could not be happier, and I will tell you exactly why. It is because I am staring at your face.
No.
Yes. Last week, you did the podcast for a few moments while you were on vacation, which we will talk about later. Put a pin in that, folks. We're going to circle back to Ron's vacation. But I'm going to tell you something. I was here all alone doing the podcast by myself. And what was one of the first things I said to you Tuesday morning when I was checking in with you and the missus? It was, I don't enjoy doing solo episodes.
They're difficult, without a doubt.
They are just not as much fun as having somebody directly to interact with, you of all people. You know, I look forward to this time every week. So I'm doing fine. Ron, how are you doing?
I mean, I'm okay. Obviously it's a difficult time for me right now. I've just returned from a week-long vacation down at Playa del Carmen, spending time on the beach, relaxing, drinking. So getting back into the cold northeast weather, having to get back to work tomorrow. And of course, the sting of losing the Super Bowl bet and thus the 51% ownership and the title belt, it stings a bit. And, I've had time to reflect on things. And, Brian, you are a gambling man. You would say that.
Yes.
And you would say, and again, I'm not trying to knock you, but I would say, apart from your locks of the week, which are always perfect, you've got a mixed you got to have a mixed record otherwise, correct?
Oh, I would say that I have accomplished a significantly losing track record in the gambling activities that I've taken part in.
And would you say that you have gambling weaknesses that you're aware of, that you find difficult to overcome? Like when you look back on bets that you make, it's like, you know what, I did this when I should have done that type thing.
Well,
I'm going to tell you my weakness. I'm going to tell you my weakness.
Okay.
I overthink things at times when I bet. And the Super Bowl is a perfect example because initially I was like, all right, I kind of like the Eagles when the line first came out. But in my head, I'm saying to myself, you know what, go with the Chiefs. Like they've been there before. They've won it all. And then I just started overthinking it with statistics and records and everything else, which led me to pick the Eagles, which, as we now know, was the wrong choice. Because when you reflect on it, both great teams, very even game. But you had in the Eagles a young coach in his first Super Bowl, a young quarterback in his first Super Bowl against a team with a future Hall of Fame coach and a future Hall of Fame quarterback. So again, my betting a lot is done well in reflection, hindsight being 2020. I kicked myself for not taking the Chiefs, but listen, to the victor go the spoils, my friend.
Listen, I think that is hindsight talking. There is a reason why the Eagles went 14-3 this season. There is a reason why the Eagles looked unstoppable during their march to the Super Bowl. Granted, the 49ers lost their quarterback earlier on in the game. However, the Eagles did, they looked like they were a team of destiny, pardon the euphemisms. But also, you're kicking yourself. But if you look at Vegas had an opening line of 1. And that line grew to 1.5 by game time. That meant that not only did the experts believe right out the bat that the Eagles were a very slight favorite, but the betting community bet heavy enough on the Eagles against the Chiefs that the betting line moved.
Right.
So if you're going to kick yourself for not seeing, all the tea leaves correctly, you are far from alone on this.
No, I understand. And to be honest, I've had a week again of relaxation, of reflection, a week of not carrying the burden of that 51% ownership, which
Sure.
takes a tremendous weight off of one's mind. I feel over the past week I have been more creative. I feel maybe I had gotten complacent being at the top of the mountain, being the champion. And perhaps I wasn't giving you, Brian, my best. I wasn't giving the audience my best. So I've done a lot of work over the past week, Brian. And if you will indulge me for one moment, I would like to share a little side project that I also started over the past week as I thought about my future and how things need to progress.
Sure.
I have a little clip of this project, if you don't mind if I play it. Again, if you are watching the video portion, don't judge the final product. There's still a lot of video editing that needs to happen with this clip. I subcontracted Matt to work on this little labor of love with me. And as we know, Matt's got some challenges. So, again, the audio I think is good. The video still needs some work. But here we go. Oh, I should add it to the stream. Hold on. Good evening, everybody. It is Sunday night. It is 7 p.m. and it is time for episode 1 of the Ron and Ron podcast. It is my very special privilege to introduce my new co-host, Ron. Thanks, Ron. It's great to be here and joining you on this new adventure. I've been a longtime fan and admirer. Whenever I've watched your previous work, I felt like I was looking into a mirror. Well, that's very flattering, and I'm looking forward to our 50-50 partnership. We've got some great original content here, along with current events and politics. You'll get to know and love some of our reoccurring bits, like Beverage of the Moment, Gripe of the Day, and What Are You Streaming? Don't forget, Ron, for the gambling aficionados out there, we will have our NHL Ice Picks of the Week.
Cold as ice.
Brilliant as always, Ron. Just a reminder before we get started here, you can find all things Ron and Ron at our website, theronandronpodcast.com. Now, let's start the show. So again, nothing's happening with the Ron and Brian podcast, obviously, but just an outlet that I felt. So again, if people are interested, you can go to the ronandronpodcast.com and check it out. There'll be more information in the coming weeks.
First off, congratulations.
Thank you.
I want you to know you've done some superb work here on the podcast. I know you're going to, you said earlier that you haven't, been at your peak. I don't agree with that. But I also know that, that one cannot hold down a butterfly. One must let the butterfly fly and live and exist. So I wish you the best of luck on this new adventure.
Thank you.
If you ever would like me to come on and be a third on your show, I've been talking about thrupling with you for a long time. This might be our opportunity. I mean, I know Mrs. Ron has said no to the idea of a throuple on numerous occasions.
Yes.
Actually, a socially awkward number of occasions, to be brutally honest. But it's, maybe this is the throuple that I really wanted. Ron, and Brian.
It really does make sense.
I'd love to come on and as a guest if you ever decided to have me on. And obviously, the fact you've got so many ideas already. The NHL Ice Pick of the Week and the Beverage of the Moment. It just really shows that, not being burdened by that extra 2% has really allowed your brain to just open up and fly.
I feel like Bradley Cooper in Limitless. Like I really do. So, but in the meantime, let's focus on Ron and Brian. And more importantly, let's focus on our drink of the week.
Drink of the week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the week.
Pleasure.
Who's?
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week.
Ryan, what are you drinking this week, sir?
Today, I have a hefty can. Look at this.
That
This
is a
thing is
nice.
about the size of my head. We are looking at exactly 25.4 fluid ounces of Asahi Super Dry.
Love
You're going to say,
Asahi.
Brian, Asahi, it is a consistently solid beer coming in at 5.2%. I'm going to throw a word out there I'm not sure that you're familiar with. Karakuchi.
I am not. Please inform me.
Karakuchi is the Japanese word that captures the intricacy of Asahi Super Dry's unique, refreshing taste. Although there is no direct translation, it describes how our beer is dry and crisp with a quick, clean finish. It's a rice lager from Japan, Ron. These beers are prepared with rice and malted barley, just like American lagers, but as a result, the beer has a light color and flavor profile. There is also more carbonation, which necessitates a drier finish. This is my drink of the week.
All right, take a sip. Going international this week with Asahi, and it's really good. I've had it in the past. It is a fantastically crisp,
good.
clean, and drinkable lager.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna say highly recommend. 5 out of 5. Ron, what are you drinking?
So as we've mentioned, I was down in Mexico this past week, Brian. And what's the one thing you have to do when you are down in the Mexico? You have to purchase yourself one of the many local tequilas down there. I purchased this bottle of Don Peru John. This is a mix of tequila and mezcal. Comes in at a 34% alcohol. Most 100% definitely was claimed at customs upon my return. So I like my tequila on ice. I don't know about you, but I do like a nice sipping tequila. I did sample it in the store, but I also sampled many tequilas. Actually, the most interesting one was a scorpion tequila, where they had scorpions in the bottle, and the guy said, put this spice and salt on your hand. So he puts the spice and he puts some salt. He's like, lick that and then take the shot with the scorpion tequila. Turns out he put cricket spice and worm salt. But it was an interesting flavor. But this is just straight up tequila. So let's taste this. Oh, it's nice. It's got a nice, almost buttery finish to it.
Really?
I mean, that is. I'm very pleased with that. So,
and you are a tequila man.
I do like tequila. In general, I'm a clear spirits kind of guy. But that is a nice drinking tequila. So I'm happy. I'm a happy man, Brian. That's all that matters.
I am pleased. Now, do you want to talk about? Obviously, we're dipping our toe into the ocean of your recent vacation. But while we're talking about drinks, you want to talk, what were you drinking while you were down there?
Primarily, I was drinking Dos Equis. That seemed to be, we went all inclusive this time. So obviously it was whatever they had there. Had a variety of wines, liquors, mixed drinks. But I stuck with Dos Equis because if you're going to be drinking from 10 a.m. to, midnight, it's a nice 4% beer that's very drinkable throughout the day.
What was the record number of beers you had in one day?
There was a day where I'm not going to lie, there is a period of time of that day that I do not have recollection of.
No.
So I believe I consumed upwards of 15 that day.
Ooh.
And had I not taken apparently a couple hour nap prior to dinner, I probably would have had some more.
That's awesome.
It was enjoyable.
Well, I do remember on Monday of last week reaching out to you, and you were, in your own words, you said that you were properly toasted.
Yes.
And it was about 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, we started at 10 a.m. each day because that's when the beach bar opened.
So you went down to the beach. All right. Are we talking about your vacation now?
Not just yet.
Not yet.
Because we have to hit up, of course, Beef of the Week.
There you go.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you?
Oh, this is real simple. This is quite straightforward.
Okay.
I'm not going to pretend. Um, it is people who don't pay off their debts.
Interesting. Such as who?
Not naming names, but
Okay.
recently I made a wager. We were talking about wagers earlier this episode. And recently I had made a wager that I won, and the what was gambled was a physical object. It was not money. It was not
Sure.
something you could put a dollar value on. I believe that there's a term for items that you cannot put a dollar value to assign. Um, it's now been 7 days, and this item has not been delivered to me. And it's somebody who I never thought would welch on a bet. I
Right.
thought this was someone that would, be a stand-up kind of guy, a man of honor, a man of dignity, a man of respect, a man that you
Right.
should respect. And this physical item has, as far as I'm concerned, not been transferred using a variety of delivery methods, and that's what's bothering me this week.
I mean, understandable. I won some money on the Super Bowl. Have not received it as of yet. So, I mean, I understand your frustration, but I look at it as maybe people have reasons. Maybe people were traveling internationally and were unable to ship. Maybe tomorrow is a federal holiday and the post office will be closed. I think you just really need to look into the why behind the why. But I certainly understand your frustration.
Hearing a lot of excuses, a lot of excuses. Ron,
Yes.
other than returning to a Philadelphia winter after a Mexican week, what's bothering you this week?
I mean, as you can imagine, with traveling, dealing with the general public, returning, you would think there was a variety of things that could have been my beef of the week, and there
Mhm.
were. But probably the main beef of the week, Brian, is dress codes at restaurants when you're on a vacation.
All
Um,
righty, let's go into this.
so, again, we're at an all-inclusive resort, and to be fair, maybe I could have done a little bit more research about the place than I did. But the majority of the restaurants were listed as kind of dressy. They weren't casual, and they considered dressy for the men to be a collared shirt and long pants. Now it's
Dressy would be pants.
long pants,
Okay.
specifically long pants, maybe high-end dressy jeans, but primarily long pants with a collared shirt. Now, it's Mexico, it's 85 degrees. You would
Sure.
prefer to be in shorts, but what have you. And sure enough, you think, oh, sure, yeah, whatever. But as long as you look good, like I had some very nice shorts with me, some dress shorts, if you will,
Sure.
and collared shirts, and was turned away at a restaurant. Had to go back to my room and put on long pants. And I'd only brought one pair of long pants because, again, it was going to be 85 degrees the entire week. So
May I ask which restaurant in the resort turned you down?
that particular night, it was La Hacienda, their Mexican restaurant.
Wow.
Yeah.
And were the other men in your party all were they dressed appropriately?
They were, I just, I didn't even think about the long pants because I had my collared shirt. I looked
Sure.
good. I felt good. I felt sexy. I said, this is an outfit that a restaurant's going to want an influencer like me to be
Sure.
seen at their
Sure.
place in. But I was 100% incorrect.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you I assume you did not tell them who you were, because
I
then
don't like to,
they would have
yeah, I
turned
don't
you
like to
away.
name drop. And, to be fair, it was after the Super Bowl. My clout had dropped a little bit. So, I didn't want to cash in on that.
Okay. That's reasonable. That's reasonable.
But
So
otherwise,
really,
a delightful resort to be at.
all right, let's talk. So you
Okay.
go down to Mexico for a week.
Yes.
Yeah, I've already picked up all inclusive,
Yes.
adults only.
Adults only, no children, which I got to tell you, I don't think I can. I don't think I can do a vacation with children around again.
Hmm.
Because once got back to the Cancun airport yesterday to fly back, and there were just hundreds of children running around, yelling at the top of their lungs, made me realize how much I appreciated not being around kids for a week.
Sure, of course, of course. You're there for a week. What were the high points?
Let's see. One day we went and we did some snorkeling to look at some sea turtles, and then went to a cenote, which is a limestone cave where we actually got to swim underground in some water they had down there. And then we took a walking tour of Playa del Carmen and had a Mexican cooking class there too. So I've
Hmm.
added some more cooking skills to my repertoire.
What
Got to
skills?
so a little, we made some pico de gallo, some
Ooh.
guacamole, made fresh tortillas and sopas with masa. So I
You
got
made it?
all, well, the guy helped, but
Okay.
we got our hands in there a little bit. So
Mhm.
maybe the next time you come down, you might have a little Mexican feast coming your way.
I would. That would make me very happy. That would
But
make me
otherwise,
very
we
happy.
had a room that literally stepped out onto the beach.
Hmm.
There was a beach bar right there, open from 10 a.m. on. Our good friend Manuel manning the bar took excellent care of us.
Hmm.
Great poolside area. Again, just a lot of fun. And traveling with, of course, friends of the podcast, the Jardis, always fun.
Love the
And
Jardis.
yes,
Love the Jardis.
and Amy, also part of the Jardy clan, was
Yep.
with
Amy
us.
Jardy.
Billy asking, was there enough cooking oils for me? Coincidentally enough, they don't use a lot of oil, just all natural. It's a very they like reusing a lot of things, so it was very interesting to see almost a no waste cooking thing.
Hmm.
But the whole week was it was great. It was relaxing. It was just what I needed, and now I'm back here in the States, and it's not as much fun.
Did you get the opportunity to reconnect with Mrs. Ron? I know you were talking earlier this year about just not being on the same page, some marital stress, some issues. You told me there were several nights where you were sleeping in the fifth bedroom um, because she wouldn't let you in the first four. This was just the two of you. Do you feel like you guys have reconnected?
I don't know that we were disconnected. I don't know that any of what you said is actually factual, but we had a very good time together.
None of what I said was factual. Very
Right.
good. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
All putting all that aside, what was it like getting off the plane?
So we landed in Philadelphia last night, around 10 o'clock, and it was 37 degrees. It
Mm,
was 82 degrees when we left Mexico, 37 degrees when we landed. So it was
oof.
obviously not a lot of fun. Then you got to wait, you got to get your luggage, you got to get through customs, which I will say they've made customs incredibly easy to get through with the little
Did you have
machines
any
and whatnot.
problems getting back?
Nope, none whatsoever.
Did they go through your luggage, even talk to you, or you just walked
Not
right through
really.
it?
So like you punch on a little screen, they scan your passport,
Hmm.
then you go up and they're just like, any livestock? Not today. Any alcohol or tobacco? Of course not. And then in an Uber on the way home.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very good. Well, welcome back. I'm going to
thank you.
say this: this country is not the same when you're not here.
Oh well, you're very kind.
We we need you.
There is one thing it's been burning in my head to ask you for when I got back.
Sure.
What are you watching?
Oh, um, I'm watching two things. One, I am watching Ted Lasso on Apple TV season two.
Okay, good season.
I'm gonna finish it, but I don't understand why it was ever made.
Okay,
Um, I feel like season one really was establishing an American, Midwestern American who has no soccer experience being hired um, by a owner of a team trying to get it to fail, kind of like a major league in the soccer world.
right.
Um, so they were setting up the story. I get it. There was a reason for it. The season two, I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be getting from this season. They're not really moving the story forward. They're just, introducing some more characters and just kind of reiterating what they already were. I'm over halfway through, so I kind of feel like at this point, I really feel like I should have seen some progress. Also, I took a hit. I took a hit for the team this
You
week,
did.
Ron.
You jumped on a grenade for us. It is no other way
I
to say
jumped on that grenade. I inserted it into my rectum and I pulled the pin myself.
it.
We were provided with a screener copy of Roseanne's new comedy special called Cancel This, which is on Fox Nation. It was, how do I say this? One of the worst hours that I have spent. And I want to go on record here because I know that the far right are going to watch this and say, oh, that's because you just don't agree with her political views. But this was not it had nothing to do with her political views. I genuinely wanted to laugh.
I think you have shown an ability to look past a comedian's past. You can go to like a problematic comedian's show, like Louis C.K., for example. You were at that show at Madison Square Garden a few weeks back, I believe. You were in attendance with Michael Vick. So you've shown that you can look past people's past. So I feel that you went into this stand-up special with a clear mind, and we're ready to laugh. Because listen, Roseanne has done some great stand-up in the past.
Sure,
and you would have hoped it would have been she would have brought that energy to this special. But you're saying that she didn't quite do that.
This was, I would say, have you ever seen a comedian doing an hour of a headlining act, an hour of comedy that you sit there and say, they've got maybe 20 minutes of material in this hour. The rest of it is just kind of, filler and noise.
Right.
They let them tour for another year, and I'd like to see what they do with this hour. This was literally, I would say probably she did about 15 minutes of jokes, we'll call it. And I would say she did 45 minutes of rants of, just stereotypical Roseanne,
Right.
what she's become. She talked about her childhood growing up in Utah. Wasn't funny. Talked about living in Hawaii. She couldn't make that funny. Talked about how she loved marijuana. She's spends half of her time in Texas now. She was bragging about how she wanted to offend people, but I didn't find any of her jokes offensive. They just weren't. They were few and far between. What I found most surprising was just how disconnected she was to her material. She would tell a joke and just kind of, there would be this gap where you could clearly see like there was no flow. It's not as if she had one joke that would set up to go to the next.
Now, was this in front of a live audience?
Filmed in Houston, Texas, in front of a live all-white audience. I don't know that was a requirement when they announced this show, but all of the crowd shots that they featured, I did not see one minority in all of it.
Got it.
And what I found so surprising was the editing of this show. There were several spaces in this where she would tell a joke and you would not hear any laughter. Like they didn't edit in a laugh track. They did not, cut out that space between jokes to make it seem as if there wasn't this awkward silence. But I was shocked at how much of an awkward silence they allowed.
You think they would? Yeah, I mean, you would think they would pump some crowd noise in, or at least edit the space after the joke so it wasn't as obvious.
Sure, if you would, like the thing, afterwards, I was looking back on it, and I was just, it's like someone said, "Hey, Roseanne, you haven't done stand up in 10 years. Why don't you get up there, grab the mic, and just kind of riff." And they recorded it and they put this out. It was. You couldn't say it was a tight hour. It was just a bad hour. It was actually so bad that I told you that I did not want you to watch it.
No,
because
you
I
saved
did
me.
not. Well, I felt it was the last gift I could give you, or the smallest thing I could do.
Sure.
Was just to save 1 hour of your time. so that you did not have to see this. And that is what I'm watching.
All
Ron,
right. Yes.
other than the Atlantic Ocean, the Gulf of Mexico, other than Manuel, other than watching Dos Equis cans get emptied, what are you watching?
So I didn't watch too much while I was away, but on the flight back, I did watch Black Adam, the
Oh,
DC movie with Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
hmm
I liked it. I know for whatever reason, critics did not like it. Some people kind of tore it apart. I mean, was it a great movie? Not by any means,
right.
but it was definitely watchable. I think Pierce Brosnan was fantastic, as he always is. The Rock wasn't horrible, and overall, I thought it was a good movie. And then
Okay.
today on Netflix, I watched Emily the Criminal with Aubrey Plaza, which I believe you would watch
I did.
previously.
I watched that. I want to say I watched that maybe 2 months ago.
And again, a good show, like a good
hmm
movie. Nothing really new, nothing spectacular, but very watchable, very entertaining.
I found, yeah. I mean, it's not a great. It's what I liked about it was that it did really capture the sense of somebody who is watching their life kind of spiral and kind of seemingly out of out of um, out of the way in terms of not being able to control it.
Right. It was, yeah. I mean, and again, it wasn't an unrealistic wrap up Hollywood ending, so I
Right.
like that too. Oh, I also forgot we watched what the hell stupid movie was it? It was like 47 meters below Uncaged. So this was like this 2019. It must have been like direct to video movie
hmm
about these teenagers that go swimming in this like recently discovered like Mayan cave in Mexico,
hmm
and they find a great white sharks that have like developed to be able to see in the dark or not be able to see, but heightened senses because they live in caves underwater and they're stuck under there because of a tunnel collapse. So it's like a jump scare kind of movie with sharks, but it was decent.
When did you watch this?
Earlier today.
Okay, so after your Mexican snorkeling
Yes,
adventure.
thankfully,
Okay,
would
all
have
right.
been very
It,
uncomfortable to be in that cenote having watched that.
I was just like, I can't believe you would watch this before you would go to Mexico on vacation. There is one thing that I do want to watch this week. I don't know if you're planning on watching it also. It's on Hulu. It's Stolen Youth Inside the Cult at Sarah Lawrence.
Oh, I've seen the previews for that. That
That is
actually
just
looks good.
that is a story that you and I have spoken about multiple times since the guy was arrested. I think he's waiting on trial, but he might have already been found guilty. Not really paying attention to too much. But that's something I definitely plan on watching this week.
And have you seen the previews for Bob Odenkirk's new show?
No,
So it is again. It's
I had no
another.
idea.
I believe it's another Vince Gilligan show. It is on AMC Plus. It's called Lucky Hank. Starts on March 19th.
No,
The trailer makes it look like it could be another excellent show.
really, I just read his memoir,
Well, there you go.
Odenkirk. I know you can sit there and be like, Brian reads. Yes, yes,
Brian
you
is a
could say that.
voracious reader.
I do like reading a good book, and I just read Odenkirk's memoir. I did not realize a lot of the early comedy stuff that he did.
Yeah,
Um, I remembered him from I was first exposed to him on the Ben Stiller show on Fox way, way, way back
yeah, that's
with
right.
Andy Dick and Janine Garofalo. But I did not realize that he had done so much stand up and failed. And he had done a lot of improv, and he was part of the uh, Del Close School of Improv, Del Rio. I don't remember. But yeah, I read Odenkirk. That looks good. I will. I'm definitely going to look into that.
Check that out. Brian, let's keep things rolling. We've got our stories of the week. Would you like to start with your chosen story of the week?
Yes. My story of the week, we are going to go to the great state of South Carolina. And the story I'm going to provide for you is really the story of America's failed priorities, in my opinion. I may come across harsh, I may come across insensitive, but I would say people have described that of me multiple times in this lifetime,
On
and I'm
occasion.
guilty of it. Ron, do you have a photo or a video to show?
I have a photo to show. So let me get
Alrighty.
this.
And you're going to pull it up. And the story is, you are looking at Barbara Gillespie. She is a 72-year-old delivery driver from South Carolina. She works for Domino's. She was delivering multiple pizzas. And there is a video, I don't know if you can figure it out, but I think it's on TikTok. She was delivering, I think, about 3 or 4 personal pizzas and something else. As she's walking up the steps, she trips and falls, dropping the food onto the floor and hurting herself. Now, the thing about Barbara Gillespie that we should all remember, or that we should know, is that she was 1 week away from retiring from her job. She had saved some money, but really not enough for her retirement years. But delivering pizzas just was not something she was physically able to do anymore. As we could see,
Sure.
walking up some steps, this was something that she was not. So the family who she was delivering the pizzas to, now keep in mind, they love her. They are regular
Sure.
customers of this Domino's. She has delivered to them multiple times. They felt so bad for her that they started a GoFundMe, put the video of her falling on TikTok. Right now, the TikTok is, last time I looked, it had been seen by over 16 million viewers.
Wow.
Okay,
That's some clout.
16. That is viral. So what do? They're American. So what do we do when people something unfortunate happens to them? We start a GoFundMe.
It's the only thing you can
Ron,
do.
how much do you think Americans have donated to Barbara Gillespie, her GoFundMe, because she fell while delivering some pizzas?
I mean, she's not an animal. People like donating to animals. They like donating
Love
to
donating.
kids.
Correct.
I'm gonna go on the low end. I'm gonna say maybe around 84,000.
Try $264,000
Well, that's a feel-good story.
to a woman that fell. There are so many better causes in this country. There are children going to bed hungry. There are children going to bed with dirty clothes because it's the only ones they own. There are teachers that are going out of pocket for school supplies because their schools aren't properly funded. Billy is going to make a Ronald Reagan reference right now. He's typing away. Steam is coming out of his keyboard. Absolutely. You know that he's going to make a Ronald Reagan reference. People, there's genuine misery in this world. There's genuine heartbreak. Put your money where it's really warranted. A woman tripping and falling is not worth $264,000. America, get your head, put it on right, strap it on.
So your dispute is not with the structure of a country, which makes it impossible for people to retire these days, but more the good-hearted nature of Americans out there. A little over 16,000 of them that have donated to this campaign.
Ron, as a 51% owner of this podcast, I am not allowed to side with the downtrodden and the people who are being taken advantage of by the system, because I am now part of the system.
Okay.
You experienced it for a year, and had this been a month ago, I would have been railing about a society that is forcing almost 70-year-olds to work minimum wage jobs to somehow pay for their medication. But that's not me anymore. Now I'm going to say, you know what? She should have pivoted during the pandemic, listened to Ivanka Trump, and she should have learned a new skill that paid better.
You can't critique the man when you have become the man.
Correct. And here we go. We knew it was coming. Reagan's economy has made it impossible for people to save money. That's not true. That is absolutely not true. Elon Musk has saved a lot of money. Jeff Bezos has saved a lot of money. Rupert Murdoch has saved a lot of money. The Koch brothers saved a lot of money. Warren Buffett has saved a lot of money.
But this has got to stop.
Although one thing it does point out in the article is that a Gallup poll revealed that the average reported retirement age is now up to 61, and those yet to retire, have increased their target age to 66, compared to 60 back in 1995.
Yep.
When would you like to be able to retire by?
I honestly don't visualize myself ever retiring. I think I will work until I physically can't. Then I will whittle away whatever money I do have, and then I will take some kind of cyanide pill and fall asleep in my and die.
Okay, fair enough.
Ron,
Yes.
when do you think you're going to retire?
I mean, I would shoot for 62.
Ooh, maybe I'll shoot myself. I never even thought of that. That's a good way. No, you're going to shoot for 65?
62, I would like to go and
62.
retire someplace warm. I think we've talked about getting a compound in Costa Rica,
I would love that.
being able to continue the Ron and Brian podcast into our retirement days, maybe on a beach somewhere, drinking Dos Equis.
Listen, we've always talked about doing the show twice a week, and I think like if we're, if we get that compound that we've been looking into, I think it's plausible.
Very possible. My story this week, Brian, I would say yours was more of an uplifting story because it involves people helping people for money.
Sure.
This shows the horrible extent that people will go to for money. And this involves an Alaskan woman who admitted to killing a close friend after being catfished by an online stranger who said he'd pay $9 million if he was sent photos and videos of the crime. This woman that we're pulling the picture up right here, this is Denali Bremer, age 22, pleading guilty this past Wednesday to first-degree murder in the 2019 killing of Cynthia Hoffman, age 19. Bremer was 18 when she and two other teenagers were catfished by a gentleman by the name of Darren Schillmiller, who posted online as a millionaire named Tyler, convinced them to sexually assault and kill Hoffman. Bremer and her two accomplices carried out the planned attack back in June of 2019. They bound her, they duct taped her hands, feet, and mouth, and then shot her in the head with a 9mm handgun while also sending Snapchat videos and pictures to Schillmiller at his directive through the duration of the event, before throwing Hoffman's body into the Ukultna River. So she'll be sentenced on August 22nd, facing anywhere from 30 to 99 years in prison. Schillmiller was arrested and extradited to Alaska, thankfully. He's being held in jail on first-degree murder charges, and charges against Bremer's two alleged accomplices are pending.
Jesus, that's dark.
Yeah. It's
how stupid. I'm sorry. How fucking stupid do you have to be that you're going to kill somebody because somebody on Snapchat has promised you $9 million?
Right. Without at least getting some money up front.
Of course.
That's how you get it.
I would want $1 million up front.
At least.
How much? Okay. Say somebody comes to you, and obviously I'm sure there was a grooming period. This wasn't just like out of nowhere. Oh, hey, would you kill somebody for $9 million? There had to have been a buildup of trust.
You would think.
Over a period of time. How much would you consider killing somebody that, say somebody said, hey, listen, I would like you to kill Brian. Send me videos and photographs of you doing it, and I'm going to pay you X number of dollars. How much would that number X have to be for you to consider it?
So in this hypothetical scenario, do you still have 51% ownership and the title belt?
There is no title belt. There is no 51% owner.
Oh, well, I would need probably a large amount of money. I would probably need $20 million.
Okay.
Now, with the caveat,
first off, that hurts.
With the caveat that is, if you did have the title belt and 51% ownership, I would probably do it for free.
Fuck.
How much would it? I mean, let's say someone catfished you and said you have to kill Ron. What dollar amount would that take?
And I'm not saying this because I want you to feel I would not believe. I'm so paranoid and distrusting that there is no dollar value that I would believe um, would be worth me killing you for. If
Which is
somebody
fine.
said, "I'll give you $100 million," the more fantastical that number becomes, the less I believe that it's a genuine offer.
But this is my thought process because this is how caring I think you are, because you've just said that you're probably just shoot yourself. So I think
Yeah.
you would allow me to shoot you knowing that it would benefit me.
If I had reached that phase where I was done with this life, yeah, I would absolutely be okay with that.
All right.
Do you think we could do it on Patreon behind the paywall?
I think you would have to at least be a titanium member or higher.
Don't forget, people, we still have that infinity level membership that we have held off. We're going to put it back on right now. You can now sign up if you go to patreon.com/Ron and Brian podcast and sign up to be an infinity member. It is a one-time $100,000 subscription, lifetime free access to the podcast, free access to After Dark. But this isn't just for people that want to put $100,000 down. This is for people who are willing to put as little as $5 a month
Correct.
down. You get at a minimum 30 minutes of extra bonus content. We do a show right after this. We call it After Dark. It is stories, news articles that how do I put it politely? Not appropriate for YouTube. Facebook wouldn't cover it.
No.
Wouldn't they wouldn't allow it. These are the stories where we use kind of some salty language. Things get a little racy. I keep my shirt on most of the time. But most importantly, it is a way for you, the viewer, who is currently enjoying the show free, how you can help repay part of the cost that Ron and I and Matt, let's face it, Matt goes into his pocket,
Sure.
To get some of these sound effects and whatnot. It's a way for you guys to help us offset some of the costs of this podcast. Not a lot of money, and you get your money's worth.
So if you don't want to go direct to Patreon, always remember you can go to ronandbrianpodcast.com. And hey, if you just happen to be surfing the web, stop by the ronandronpodcast.com as well. Check out that website.
Do you want to show the video again?
No, I don't want to fill up too much time here. Maybe we'll show it after dark. Brian, that train that derailed in Ohio a couple of weeks back, still finding out that there was more toxic chemicals than initially reported. It's actually, we're going on 2.5 weeks now.
Yeah.
There's been some controlled burns of the Norfolk Southern Railway train cars to try and stop a potential explosion. But we found they knew that there was vinyl chloride, phosgene, and hydrogen chloride. But now we're also finding ethylene glycol, monobutyl ether, ethyl hexyl acrylate, and isobutylene. All bad chemicals to be breathing in the smoke from.
Which the part that really is distressing about this is that this happened 2 weeks ago, and it has not. It is just. Let me say this: it is just really entering the national discourse. We're talking about a train that had over 100 cars. More than half of them were carrying toxic chemicals, gas, liquids. Probably solids. I'm going to throw it in there. Train derailed. We're not sure why. Billy's going to make a Ronald Reagan reference to the deregulation of the railroads. I know I've seen in many places that Obama when he was president. His administration put through a lot of safety requirements for the railroad industry that were retracted during the presidency of Donald Trump.
That is correct.
Sure. You know what? I don't know that. Just saw it on the internet.
That's actually been fact checked.
Oh, has it? Okay.
Yes.
I feel a little bit better. But it is the fact that just so much, and I don't know if pounds is the right word, but it was how much toxic materials were released during a short period of time. And the local residents are still not being protected.
Right.
There was a stay in home order that was immediately announced. Some people were told you have to vacate your homes. Told a couple days later, yep, safe to come back. There's out there being told safe to drink the water, the air is safe. Listen, we've had so many examples in this country of environmental disasters where the American public was lied to by the American government, were lied to by American corporations, all in the in the order of corporate profits, all in the order of don't rock the boat.
And that's really, you talk about the Obama era law that was repealed by President Trump, and it wasn't like Trump just saw this law and said, let's repeal it. It was the result of millions of dollars of lobbying efforts from rail companies such as Norfolk Southern and CSX, who pushed the government and the Trump administration, specifically saying, this puts an undue burden on us to make these expensive changes. Meanwhile, and we've said this, I think, for every industry we've spoken about this year, the rail companies are making record profits, while rail safety plummets, while rail workers and people living along rail lines are being put into harm's way.
Yeah, and it is the American way. We've become so beholden to the dollar profit that our infrastructure is falling apart. Our standard of life is falling apart. Our the value of a human life has fallen apart. The value of the animals, of the environment, the land, and at the same time, what's the ultimate sad point is this is the American way. This is exactly what got America to this point. We talk about this, how this is a great country, and it's just going to shit because now it's just like, oh, it's all about the dollar. We've always been about the dollar. We have always been about what is better for the people who are in power. In this case, the corporate elite. And and anybody who falls in the way of forward progress and profits, they don't matter. And you're looking at the people of East Palestine, Ohio, and you realize that they are right now a shining example. And when I say shining, it is because literally the toxic chemicals that they have been breathing in has caused their bodies to become bioluminescent, and they are just shining. They are literally shining examples of the horror of what's going on in corporate America right now.
One other thing that is consistent with America, Brian, is people dying at the hands of police. Going out to Alabama, where a man froze to death inside of a county jail after he was placed into either a walk-in freezer or another cold area by guards. The family of Anthony Tony Mitchell says that more than a dozen jail officials in Walker County abused him and then tried to cover up the alleged mistreatment.
Listen, I can't say that I know what it is like to be a police officer or a corrections officer. They are not easy jobs. No. It is not an easy existence. It is a struggle. You are dealing with some of the most difficult people that this society can generate. But to take a naked man, in this case, he was naked because I looked it up, saw photos. They were pixelated, but I was figured out, I put them through my depixelation software and was able to see his frozen schween. But they took a man who had been arrested for
He had
making.
he fired a gun at police officers. He apparently suffered from drug addiction and also had mental and physical health issues.
And the thing was, he was a young guy,
Right,
relatively,
33 years old.
33 years old. So he was taken into police custody. There were, the reports, a variety of reports of him showing signs of illness. And the way that these police officers decided to deal with an unruly inmate was, instead of getting the medical attention that he required, they strapped him into a chair and left him in a freezer. And then came back about an hour later and
Right.
wondered why he was frozen to death.
When Mitchell was taken to a local hospital, his internal body temperature was only 72 degrees.
That's Mexico is warmer than his body. Think about it this way, Ron.
That's very true.
The air that you got to experience in Playa del Carmen.
We also wanted to show photos. It kind of shows the how bad drug addictions and mental illness can impact a person. They had two photos that they showed in the article. This was a photo of Tony Mitchell from better times, although he was drinking a Red Bull. That's always a red flag, in my opinion. This is a photo of him the day he was arrested. Definitely looking a lot worse for wear. Now, again, living in Alabama, I think takes some years off your life as well.
Absolutely. But, listen, look at that sweatshirt he's wearing. He backs the blue.
He does. And what good did it get him?
Absolutely. Oh, he got a trip to the freezer.
Oh, speaking of trains, I forgot to mention, they apparently found a pipe bomb in the Ronhurst section of Philadelphia earlier today on train tracks used by Norfolk Southern and CSX. Apparently, Philadelphia Police Department bomb squad was able to go and remove the item. It was built out of a PVC pipe. We're still waiting on additional information. But yeah, that's a little scary, obviously.
That had to be an inside tip.
Why is that?
I mean, how do they? There's no way that they just find a pipe bomb on the railroad tracks.
Well,
somebody must have called them and said, "Hey, there's a pipe bomb there. You got to go get it off." Or was somebody seen planting it?
Yeah, I don't have all the information. I will tell you, the area where the pipe bomb was found was, near a populated area. There's a train tracks that run behind a church in the neighborhood. Also, I will say, Norfolk Southern, CSX, and SEPTA, our transit company, they do regular inspections of the train lines by helicopter for, I don't know for this exact reason, but certainly for security purposes. So I've not seen any updates since then.
Not to dox Allie, but she apparently lives in that area.
Well, I think perhaps she might need to provide information on her whereabouts.
Where was she? I mean, she clearly was very angry about the Norfolk Southern train. Though I'm just glad she's okay.
Well, I mean, as you reported earlier, not on the podcast, but on our social media, she was seen tipping over cars and setting them on fire after the Eagles Super Bowl loss. This may be part of that.
We're just glad she's okay.
Yeah, no, we're just fine. Everybody's okay.
Can we talk about your Super Bowl experience?
We can.
I know we're at the 15. I know we're at the 59-minute mark. If this was a Ron solo episode, you'd be wrapping it up right now.
Sure.
I get it. But it's not. We can talk about how was your Super Bowl experience?
I mean, it wasn't bad. They have a theater at the resort where they do shows throughout the week. So they had some TVs set up. They had a bunch of chairs in there. They put out like a little food buffet. They put, they had open bars. So we watched the game, watched all of the game. It was a mix of Eagles fans and Chiefs fans. I would say maybe more Eagles fans than Chiefs fans. And obviously there were a group of us that left that evening very disappointed. No one could believe, again, I think across the entire room, Chiefs fans and Eagles fans, no one can believe that the referees threw that flag that late in the game on a ticky-tack penalty.
And this is the thing. It was a penalty.
You
can't argue that it wasn't holding.
Can't argue that.
But to call holding with a minute left in the fourth quarter of a tie game in the Super Bowl on a third down play, I mean, I did not believe that they called that holding play.
Right. But again, the game did not hinge on that call, on that play. Obviously the Eagles had a 10-point lead at one point and gave it up. The game should have been over. With the way the first half went, the game should have been over a lot sooner than that. So should not have come down to the wire like that.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to, if before we wrap this episode up,
okay.
I would like to say something to you. Your championship era has ended. It has come to a halt
for this year.
I am now for the next 359 days. I will be your champion, people. But before we really revel in my excellence, I think that what we really have to do is pay homage to Ron. I think that a large thank you is owed to him. The efforts that he has put in over these past 12 months since the last Super Bowl, people have, I think there's been a certain degree amongst our listeners of just, coming to a high level of expectation in terms of what the champion is, and not realizing the day-to-day grind that it requires. And I want you to know something. You held your head up high at all times. You never complained. You never said, I don't want this anymore. You did it with class. You did it with style. You did it in respect to the tradition of being a champion. People will look back at the 1920s Yankees. People will look back on the Dallas Cowboys of the late 1970s. They'll look back at the New York Yankees of the late 90s into the early aughts. And when talk turns to those types of dynasties of just elites, they're going to talk about Ron, and they're going to talk about the championship that he carried this podcast for 1 year. And I want to take a moment and make sure that we don't forget, that we don't just assume that greatness just shows up. No, greatness is exemplified. And the person that I'm sitting across from, this person right here, this man is great. Well, and I want to thank you. I want to, no. You don't thank me. I thank you, because you were an amazing champion and you lifted this podcast for 12 months. And I don't remember thanking you during that time. I don't remember saying, hey, Ron, thanks. And you know what? Today I realized I needed to.
Well, it's been my honor. It's been my pleasure. It's been ups, downs. It's been more good times than bad. Lots of things to reflect on and look back on. In fact, Matt, play the video montage. God damn it, Matt. Why do we keep this guy around? Anyway.
Is he going to do it?
No, he must not have done the video montage.
We spent hours. We spent hours picking those scenes.
He still hasn't even put together the bumper for Stories of the Week yet. He still hasn't done the video editing for the Ron and Ron podcast, which you can learn more about at the ronandronpodcast.com.
Don't forget about the Ron and Brian podcast every Sunday.
RonandBrianPodcast.com. All right.
Welcome
Anything else,
back,
Brian?
buddy. Welcome back.
It's good to be back. We're going to go get ready for After Dark for our Patreon subscribers. It's great to be doing this show. We look forward to it each and every week. Brian, it is always my honor to be sharing a screen with you. Anything additional you have before we roll on out of here?
I love you, and don't ever leave me again.
All right. Love you too, my friend. Patreon folks, we'll see you in 25 minutes. Everyone else, we'll catch you next Sunday.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again